Today we'll be talking about this abysmal week at the box office. This has been an abysmal week at the box office. This January is kind of like, August of 2017. There was no major releases basically throughout the whole month besides an Annabelle sequel, and that's it. I think the Hitman's Bodyguard came out too, but that's the only reason why that Hitman's Bodyguard was so successful is because of there being no major franchise films coming out. So, and again, non-franchise movies do not do well at the box office. We all know why movies like Redeeming Love are completely bombing at the box office. It's because it's not a part of a franchise, so people don't have any interest in seeing it. It's also a January movie, which typically January movies don't really have the best of reputation. So the number one movie is Spider-Man No Way Home, predictably again. It has passed $1 billion internationally, and it is basically the highest grossing Spider-Man movie. It is not beating movies like Endgame like I thought it would, but it's doing pretty well for definitely a movie in the pandemic. So we'll go with how well it does on Blu-ray. But yep, I think again, Spider-Man No Way Home is Sony's win, not Disney's win. Scream, which is doing pretty well for its franchise, it's having pretty not good legs, but again, horror movies typically are not known for the legs, basically. So overall, budget is around 24 million, so this movie has made money, which is again the fandom has said, oh, this movie's a flop because Spider-Man be it. No, it still made money. Which is something that the fandom has. This is why I don't watch this is why I'm not part of the fandom menace. It was just one member, but basically like, oh my god, Scream beat was watching Spider-Man, so that means we won. It was a victory for them. And they took a victory rap, but like, really? This is what you're taking a victory rap over, because Scream isn't having good as ratings as Spider-Man, even though the movie is making money. And the Phantom Menace hates this movie for whatever reason, Just whenever a new movie comes out, they're gonna find a reason to hate it. That's basically the Phantom Menace in a nutshell. Okay? Which is basically doing average for the franchise. This movie doing average for the Scream franchise. Basically. Yeah, it's doing average. The new movie is gonna do basically like probably Western Scream free, and definitely Western the first Scream, because the first Scream had extremely good rigs, but that came out in the 90s when movies were more prone to having legs than they'd have now. So overall, Scream will probably obviously beat Scream 4 already, and it's gonna probably do basically like the third. It might not beat the third film in the franchise, but it might end up around 70 million, which is definitely pretty good for a franchise that's been as long running as Scream, and for another horror reboot that again nobody asked for, but again, these franchise films do make money at the box office. Unlike movies like The Last Duel, which don't make money. Next is Sing 2, which again, this movie is kind of bottoming out. The problem with Sing 2 is nobody wants to watch it outside of America. There's no real interest for the movie outside of America. The movie has still made $267 million worldwide, which is pretty good for this movie, but again, Illumination's signs are showing. This movie isn't really doing too well. But for a family movie during an animation meltdown plus the Omicron variant, this movie did pretty well. Well, if you don't know what the animated meltdown is, it's basically animated movies, these specifically flopping and losing money at the box office, which has been happening for like the past 5 years. Next is Redeeming Love, a movie that again nobody wants to see, so yep, we basically can skip that movie. The Kingsman, this movie is still a box office failure. We don't know now we have budget. It's $100 million, so this movie is a failure. And we made $170 million of a $100 million budget here. So yeah, this movie's a failure. But this movie did pretty okay for a movie that was supposed. It might even beat The Matrix, which would be hilarious to see that. But another failure for Disney. Again, not too surprising. The 355, which is actually having pretty okay legs. this movie's not going to make money even with the legs it's having now because there's no interest internationally, and this movie was doomed to fail anyways because it released at the beginning of January, and it's not a part of a franchise, and the movie, yeah, it's just another movie that literally nobody is going to be watching, and it's never going to be remembered as a classic of the year. Next is American Underdog. This movie is still on the charts. This movie has made $24 million, which again, there's no budget for the movie, but it has done pretty well for its type of movie, for being not a part of a franchise. And then, of course, we have Ghostbusters Afterlife, which I believe, okay, we gotta see, yes, they hasn't beaten 2016 yet. It hasn't beaten Ghostbusters 2016 yet. It's actually ahead of it is ahead of Ghostbusters 2016. So it is going to beat Ghostbusters 2016 domestically. Not worldwide, because again, people outside of America don't like Ghostbusters for whatever reason. They don't like Ghostbusters for whatever reason, which is the only reason why it's doing worse worldwide. It's because of that lack of interest from international audiences. So overall, Ghostbusters Afterlife is doing okay. Then we have all these other movies like Licorice Pizza, West Side Story. Whereas again, West Side Story is another flop for Disney. So overall, another big money loser for Disney because people don't really care for Disney anyways. And of course, we have the most hilarious flop of like Encanto. Yeah, Encanto is still a box office failure. Yeah, it's still a box office failure. It has not recovered or rebounded internationally. So that means, yes, Encanto is a box office failure, despite a song from the movie hitting, number one, and, charts. And maybe that song hitting number one might salvage the box office failure of the movie, but overall, Encanto is a box office failure. I don't really see it going down as a classic of film and movies. I don't really see it going down as one, considering that it was a box office failure. It might become a cult classic movie like Atlantis: The Lost Empire. Yeah, maybe it might become a cult classic like Atlantis: The Lost Empire because it bombed. So that's basically about this video. Goodbye.